We have finally reached the point where now all the gyms are officially closed, and I can guarantee the number one question that you have is, am I going to lose all my gains? And I've seen so many posts on Facebook, Instagram, and even YouTube videos that are centered around this topic, some being positive and some being negative. So today I want to share my thoughts and my recommendations. So the simple answer to are you going to lose all your gains is yes and no. The reason being yes is because if you sit down and do absolutely nothing, if you're not getting any type of workouts in, you're not really taking your nutrition as seriously as you were when you were going to the gym, and all you're doing all day is sitting on the couch, scrolling through social media and watching Netflix, then of course you're definitely going to lose all your gains. However, this isn't what today's video is going to be about, because I know you guys are much smarter than that and have taken some course of action to deal with the situation. Whether it be just clearing some space in your home to be able to work out there, investing in some resistance bands or dumbbells, or even taking it to the next level. I've seen people going out and purchasing benches, squat racks, and even barbells. But not everybody's in the position to be able to drop $100 or even a couple $1,000s on some serious gym equipment that's only going to be on eBay as soon as the gyms reopen. That is why in today's video I'm going to give you my advice on how to prevent losing your gains if your gym is closed, no matter your situation. Maybe you only have access to bodyweight exercises, or maybe you do have a fully equipped home gym. This is going to apply to everybody. First way to not lose all your gains is being able to make the most of what you have. Maybe you only have access to bodyweight exercises, or you have a couple resistance bands or dumbbells laying around, or even going back to that example of that guy that has a fully equipped gym. Honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's your ability and your mindset to be able to use those effectively. There are tons of great bodyweight exercises that you can do, and honestly, if this isn't enough, then you can definitely get creative by adding household items into the mix. You can use backpacks and even water jugs as weights, and you can do dips on bathtubs and couches. So there's tons of different options, and I did do a video on it. So definitely check that out. I actually give you a full home workout program. The next tip that I'd like to add is to try to find ways to increase your daily NEAT. These are all the little activities that we normally do during the day that kind of add up to help burn some extra calories. And since we are stuck at home, maybe you're watching Netflix all day or scrolling through social media, this isn't going to really help for doing that. So some recommendations that I would do is to take the time to clean your house. Since you probably are stuck in it anyways, this is a good opportunity to do so. Another thing is to clean your car. Maybe your car is in the garage, or maybe it's a nice day outside. Take the time to clean your car. I also like the idea of meal prepping, even though you are stuck at home and you are able to eat all your meals anyways. I also think that it kind of gets you moving and to make sure that you're sticking to your nutrition. So meal prepping is another great way. And most of us are working from home now. So another recommendation I would give on that is, instead of sitting down all day and working from a desk, try standing up, because these are all going to be ways of increasing your NEAT to help burn some extra calories and get you moving instead of having to sit on the couch all day. The point I'm trying to make is that doing something is always better than nothing. And let's just say, hypothetically, that all you could really do is train abs and calves, then you're going to be far better off doing that. And yes, it's maybe not normally what you would do in the gym, but it's what you're able to do now, and really focus on that. Another cool idea that I like is to kind of create a new training program for yourself for when the gyms reopen. I've been kind of going through that a little bit myself. I think it's a great idea to take the time to kind of develop your training, find some new exercises, or maybe organize them into a different split. Now that you're home all day, it kind of makes for a better use of your time. So I really like that idea of kind of making up a new training program for yourself, so that when you return, you do have a plan of attack. Some other great ideas is to start prioritizing the things that you've been making excuses to why you can't do because you were too busy training or working. The things that I'm referring to are like stretching. A lot of people completely neglect this after their workout, but stretching is very beneficial for helping increase flexibility and blood flow to the muscles. So maybe take the time to kind of improve your flexibility, figure out some stretches, and really focus on those now that you can't really train like you used to be able to train if you are only limited to bodyweight exercises. Another one that I really do like is to take the time to really work on your mobility. This can also really help with form when you actually return back to the gym. I know personally for me, I do have some bad shoulder mobility, so now is the time that maybe I want to address this, because there's tons of things you can do at home that require a very minimal amount of equipment that will help with mobility. Some other great ideas is to really take the time to improve your posing. If you are into competitive bodybuilding, or if you're into you do want to compete in the future, or maybe you are competing right now, take this time to really hone in on your posing. Really practice all the poses and go through them every day. Like I said, now that you're stuck in your home and you have nothing else to do, this makes for a great opportunity to improve your posing. And another thing that I really do like, that I think it's a great idea, maybe you can't train, or maybe you are just doing bodyweight exercises, take this time to kind of educate yourself on fitness topics. So whether it be reading articles on bodybuilding.com, or maybe even going on T Nation and reading the resources that they have available there. Another one that I really do like is listening to podcasts. The two that I would recommend are Iron Culture and Stronger by Science. Definitely check those two out. But maybe if you're just sitting around the house all day, start putting on some podcasts and educate yourself on some fitness topics that you were interested in before that maybe you didn't have time. And I also do have a podcast that I'd highly recommend you guys to check out. It's the East Coast Fitness Podcast. But at the end of the day, these are all some great ideas that you might be able to start prioritizing now that you have a little bit more time and that you're stuck at home. Of course, not being able to progressively overload the same way you would if you did have access to a full gym is definitely going to impact your ability to make gains, but I don't think that it's impossible. I just think it's harder, and you do have to get a little bit more creative. And there also is muscle memory, so if you do actually lose a little bit of muscle, you're going to regain it much quicker than you think that once you start going back to regular training. And I think that even if you were to aim to maintain your muscle by doing some bodyweight exercises and some resistance band training, I think you would be doing better than 80% of most people. And you also have to think that everybody else is in the same boat, and they are very restricted with their training as well, so you're not the only one. And I also think that this is going to separate people that are really serious about their training, that don't allow roadblocks like this to really stop them from making progress, to those who are actually willing to throw in the towel every chance that they get. So you definitely want to be the first person, and don't let this stop you from continuing to make progress. So now I'd like to briefly touch on nutrition as it relates to your home workouts. I think the biggest mistake that you can do is drastically cut calories. I know most of you are thinking, well, I'm definitely not training as hard as I used to be, so I should cut calories. And I think that's the wrong approach. The reason being is because if you are in a deficit, then you're going to increase your body's ability to actually lose muscle or break down muscle. And if you combine that with very little training stimulus, maybe you're doing some light bodyweight exercises or some resistance bands work, I think this is only a recipe for disaster in terms of losing muscle. So I think most people maybe are eating a surplus, being bulking, because I know that's what I'm currently doing. So if you guys are bulking, what I would do is I would keep it there and just kind of get the workouts in as you can and kind of push yourself during your home workouts. But if you do find yourself not really doing anything and you're just sitting around all day and your need is down, then maybe consider adjusting your calories down to maintenance. But as I mentioned, I wouldn't go any lower than maintenance, just because you want to be able to preserve that muscle as much as you can. And another thing I'd highly recommend is definitely keep your protein high. If you are cutting calories and you want to go down to maintenance, then I would definitely take away from carbs. That's just kind of my recommendation. But like I said, just to summarize, I think you should stay where you're at. If you are bulking, don't drastically cut your calories. And if you do plan to cut your calories, then I would only go as low as maintenance. So with that being said, I can completely understand how demotivating it can feel when you're not getting solid workouts in, and because of this, it's very easy to allow your nutrition to slip. But honestly, now is the time that your nutrition is the most important, and you really want to make sure that you're sticking to that. Just because you're not getting solid workouts in doesn't mean your nutrition has to falter, and I think that it's a great time to focus on getting quality calories in. So the way that I would do this is by meal prepping. Like I mentioned before, even if you are home all day and you do have access to your meals, I think meal prepping is great. The reason being is because it's going to allow you to not forget to eat the meals, to be able to get the calories in, but also reduce your urges of just kind of binge eating during the day. If you're stuck home all day, it can make your chances of just kind of browsing through the kitchen and eating things that you normally wouldn't have access during the day if you were at work. So I think that meal prepping is extremely important from that standpoint, and really kind of holds you accountable to your goals. And also, don't forget about water. We all kind of forget the importance of it, but now is the time to prioritize water and set a water goal. I personally go for anywhere from 3 to 4 liters a day, but I think those are the two biggest things, is to meal prep and to also set water goals. I'm sure most of you have probably seen the grocery stores by now and just how empty their shelves are, so I'd highly recommend to stock up on things that you're definitely going to need. So I'd like to give you some ideas on things that are great to stock up on. So in terms of carbs, I would kind of go more towards oatmeal and rice, just because they do last long and you can buy them in bulk. Another underrated carb source that I think that a lot of people aren't shopping for is cream of rice. I think that if you can find that, definitely pick it up. And there should be lots on the shelves, because I don't think a lot of people eat cream of rice, and I think it's the most underrated carb source. I personally love it, and when I don't really have rice made, I always gravitate to actually eating cream of rice. The only place that I was able to find it was actually Superstore, so definitely check into that. But like I said, I would stick to your rice, your oatmeal, and your cream of rice if you can find it. In terms of protein sources, I know I went down to get chicken the other day and they didn't have any, so if you do find yourself in that situation, look for frozen fishes or frozen fish. So I like tilapia, salmon, haddock, I think those also store great in your freezer and they're able to kind of stay a little bit longer. So definitely prioritize fish now if you definitely can't find chicken. I also like egg whites. I know that a lot of people might not like the texture of them, but they are really high in protein, and if you are in a pinch, they make for a good buy. So I think that prioritizing egg whites and stocking up on those are a good idea. And also tuna fish. Maybe you don't like tuna fish, but personally for me, if I had to eat it, I would, just to kind of get the protein in. So it's kind of good to be able to buy some tuna fish and just kind of have those on hand. Another thing too is if you are running low on supplements, I would highly recommend picking up protein powder because like I said, you don't know in terms of what the groceries are going to have, and just by having protein powder on hand is going to come in really convenient. I'd like to move into fats. Some fats that I definitely would shop for now are going to be things like butters. I know peanut butter is kind of hard to find, but maybe almond butter is a little bit easier to find. It might be a little bit more expensive, but I feel like people are probably buying it less almond butter than they are peanut butter. So I think that almond butter is great, and also maybe mixed nuts. I think that they make for a great snack, and they are normally a good fat source. So those are a couple examples of things that I would stock up on, but I would highly recommend making sure that you do have them, and that you making sure that you're prioritizing those in your diet. And like I said, going back with meal prepping, I think that if you buy those things in meal prep, you're going to be less likely to fall off track with your nutrition. So now that I've covered both training and nutrition, now I'd like to move into the final way that you can help prevent yourself from losing gains, and that's going to be your ability to manage stress. I know how stressful this situation can be with everything kind of closing down and the virus kind of spreading. I know it can kind of be stressful for most people, and especially with us gym goers that we're so used to going to the gym and being in a routine, and having that taken away from us can be extremely stressful. But I think the number one thing you want to do is you want to find ways to de-stress, because what happens is when you stress, you increase your cortisol levels, which is going to impact your body's ability to store more fat and kind of break down more muscle, which is obviously what you don't want. So I would highly recommend, like I said, to find ways to de-stress, whether that be kind of maybe light reading. I would kind of stay away from social media because there's a lot of negative stuff out there. There's also a lot of positive stuff, but the more you're less exposed to it, I think the better off you are. So you can kind of take your mind off of it by just kind of doing some reading. Another thing that I do like is maybe watching a comedy show. I think just laughing is an awesome way to kind of de-stress. That's something I normally like to do. I like to kind of watch comedy if I'm kind of in a bad mood or I'm stressed out. So maybe try that out. Also, there's also series on Netflix and shows that you can watch. So maybe now's the time to start a new series on Netflix. Also, there's also YouTube. I'm pretty sure everybody's aware of that. You can also go on YouTube and find a bunch of different things. So if you are interested in kind of de-stressing, I think those are great ways to do it. Another thing I'd like to mention is that now is the time to prioritize sleep. Getting enough sleep every day is very important from a stress management standpoint. So I think in terms of being able to de-stress, if you really prioritize sleep, try to get your 8 hours, try to get your 9 hours every single night. I think that these are all going to be great ways to really control your stress levels. Alright, so that's going to conclude today's video on how to not lose your gains if your gym is closed. Like I mentioned, you do have a lot of options in terms of training. I think the biggest thing is don't limit yourself and really make the most of your resources and what you have available for you. If you do only have body weight, then there are lots of great body weight exercises that you can do, and I think just making a plan and sticking to it is your best approach. And also in terms of nutrition, make sure you really stick to your nutrition. Now is the most important time to prioritize that, especially if you're not able to consistently train the way that you used to. So make sure that you stay on track with your nutrition. And also finally, like I mentioned, find ways to de-stress, whether that be to kind of watch comedy, laugh a little bit, or kind of take your mind off what's going on. I think that these are all great ways that are going to help you really preserve muscle, and when you're able to return back to the gym, you're going to be much better. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I do have a lot of great exciting content that's planned in the works, and I'm super excited to deliver to you guys. It's going to be a lot more home workouts and even resistance band workouts. Like I said, I'm super excited to share that, and I want you guys to be a part of it. So make sure you subscribe. Also turn on the bell notifications. I want to make sure you get notified every time I drop a new video. I'll throw my upload schedule on the screen so you can see it. So every Sunday it's my clean bulk series, and that's basically more educational style content. Every Wednesday was my Versus series, but I'm actually going to postpone that and move that to a later date till after this the issues are over with the coronavirus, because I want to really more content that's directed towards that. And in terms of my Friday upload, which is my Road to Pro series, that's documenting my entire journey to the natural bodybuilding stage, and I'm going to continue with that as well. So look out for plan updates in terms of what I plan to do with my training and my nutrition, and just kind of going forward how I plan to adjust for that. So you can look out for that on Friday. Also, don't forget to give the video a like. I really do appreciate all the support and feedback, and it definitely goes a long way. So make sure to hit that like button, and I'll see everybody here next time. All right, peace out.